Hello, everybody, and welcome to first episode of Inside Bigg Joey, where basically I monologue for 20 minutes and about things that come to my mind, things that I think should be shared and talked about. Maybe just open people's minds to other ideas, possibly. Oh shit. There's... Today I would like to talk about a feeling of... just the general feeling of disrespect. The concept of it, I guess you could say. Now, here is as I see it and how I think to a certain degree most of the world sees it. Respect is a two-way street. You cannot want it or demand it without giving it. That goes with everything and anyone, as well as the phrase acceptance and tolerance. It's all in the same category. You can't have tolerance and acceptance of a sexuality if you're not willing to tolerate that somebody might not agree with it, or I wouldn't say respect it, but just doesn't believe in it. So you cannot preach equality, and you cannot preach you can't preach equality, and you can't, ask for all these things if you're not willing to compromise or accept the consequences of what it really is. And that's just on a grand scale. But when it comes to, say, respect inside the home, you can't, like, say you're a teenager, a younger person, or you share a flat with somebody. You can't expect people to want to respect your things or your privacy when you yourself do not respect the people at all. Whether you realize it or not, you may be disrespecting them. And if you notice that people around you are not treating you the way that you would like to be treated, the best thing I think to do would be to ask them, hey, I don't know if you noticed this, but you're acting this way, you're treating me this way, and I'm really kind of, annoyed by it or bothered by it, or I feel really disrespected, Have I been doing anything that bothers you? What's the deal here? It's really not that awkward of a conversation, and if you think that it is, then clearly you know that you're disrespecting people or just the person in general. You know that you're doing it, and you feel guilty about it subconsciously. Because I know, because, whenever it's happened before, when people come up to me like, hey, Joey, you're kind of doing this and I don't like it or something like that, it really bothers me, and I try to avoid it. I get defensive, and I admit that. I admit that I have gotten like that, and that I get like that in those situations. I get that. But like I was saying is, when you notice that people are acting a certain way, or they're not acting a certain way, if they're, if, you still live at home, if if people are always, I don't know, leaving your clothes messed up, they'll take your clothes out of the washer or dryer and leave them all wrinkled and the clutter on the floor, if they're acting like this, maybe they are just assholes, but you should also think, hey, what am I doing that this person has no respect and doesn't feel like, that it's really necessary that they do this? Because I wouldn't say a lot of the time, but some of the times it can be traced back to your own actions and the way that you are acting around these people or to these people. So I don't know. Maybe in some of your cases you might really genuinely feel like, hey, I really don't get it. And that's why it's worth it just to ask. you know. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong that'll piss off this person or that person. That's especially, I think, a good time to, fuck this, no, to ask is when you really just don't get it. Because especially, even, don't even bring up the fact that, you're being treated this way. Just be like, hey, Susan or whoever, have I been acting anyway or have I been doing things that have been bothering you lately? And if they say no, then they might just be assholes, or or they, because I bring this up because I've noticed a lot lately that there's no respect especially in America, but just in the world at large. Nobody seems to really. Everyone wants respect, but they're not willing to give it. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, like, say on a grand scale, like in the whole of society currently in America, you have these people on every agenda preaching for equality and for women's rights and gay rights, cis, transgender, whatever, all that crap. You have people demanding it all the time, but they're not willing to accept other people's opinions or their sides to it. And especially from people on the left, which I'm not going to say whether or not I agree with the right or left or not. I'm just saying this is just how I see it, and this is how most of the people that I know see it because I tend to befriend intelligent people. Is a lot of this is coming from the left when it comes to politics. It's liberals and Democrats who especially they preach that they want in some sort of equality or some sort of rights for this person, that person, or they want this bill to be passed or that law to be passed, but they themselves are not willing to concede anything on their side. They're not willing to compromise. They're the type of people who, even if they feel that they're losing an argument or something, will just talk louder, or ignore the person, or ignore the comment, or just disregard everything, and especially call names. Because here's the thing, and this stands true in any regard, whether it be in politics, in conversations about religion, and just bickering between brothers and sisters. Because I learned this when I was 6, 7 years old. If you're having an argument or you're talking about something with somebody, you're having a real discussion about an issue that's bothering you, them, everybody else, whatever, and eventually it just becomes them name calling you. Those people have lost the argument. They realize that they have no way to back up what they're saying. They have no logical standpoint, and so they just resort to name calling. And that's why I think it's really funny that especially people who are all about equality for all these different sexualities and genders and shit say, they don't want you to label them, but they'll start off, like, especially feminists will start off with the phrase, as a woman I feel, or as a feminist I feel, it's like, don't label me, and yet you label yourselves. Where is the logic in that? Do tell me. I would love for a feminist or somebody who knows a lot about the mind of a feminist, I guess, to leave a comment or a reply video or something, explaining to me how they think that this is okay. Because it really is genuinely confusing to me, and I would like to learn. But leaning back more on the respect side of things, you can't expect to get respect if you're not willing to give a little. If you don't want, if you're living at home with somebody, a spouse, a friend, relative, whatever, and they keep leaving your clothes or something around the place, or they go into your room and take shit without asking or something, borrow a phone charger, say, for example, and it really bothers you, if they're not respecting you, the thing to do is to talk about it. But how do I put this? Maybe it's the same time they might take your phone charger, and you get upset, and you think that, oh, this is a bunch of horse shit. Like I said earlier, do think about the fact that, hey, this person, has done this or continues to do this. What am I doing that makes them think that this is okay? Maybe they really are just, they have this mentality of, this, I want this, so I'm going to borrow this or take this or whatever. Maybe they really do have that mentality. I know people who are like that. And to be honest, when I'm upset, I am that type of person where it's like if I'm upset or if I'm in a certain sort of mood, if I see food on the counter or something, I'll take it, even though it might be set out from a friend or a relative, my mother or my brother or something like that might have intended to eat it. I will take it. And I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm not saying it's acceptable. I actually am sometimes rather upset about it because I know better. You can't expect to get respect if you are not willing to give it. And a lot of times here in America, especially when it comes to some sort of political debate, if somebody doesn't agree with somebody, usually, and like I said earlier, it's usually from the left, that people will resort to name calling and to find a one-sided version of or one-sided description of another person in the conversation. Like back when Obama was running for president. A lot of people, and unfortunately, he regrets it to this day. My father, believed that if you didn't vote for him, that you were a racist. And for a lot of people in 2008 and 2012, for fear of being prosecuted for being a racist, they voted for him. My own father and several people that I've known have openly admitted to this. They didn't want people to think they were racist. And that's the way it was. I've watched old conversations, especially on Fox News, but with people like Bill O'Reilly, if you didn't agree with them that Obama was a great candidate, they would call them a racist. They would get mad at them. They would just throw slander and just absolute hate speech at these people for expressing their opinion. It's happened even to me. When, in high school, especially, when we'd be at lunch, I'd be with my friends, and someone would just bring up the question, hey, so who do you guys want to win for the election or something like that? Or what do you think about this going on in Congress, and blah, blah, blah. And eventually someone would ask me, and I'd be like, well, I don't agree with this, or I don't agree with that, or I do agree with this, or blah, blah, blah. Or I think it's a good idea that this happened, bad idea that happened. And people these days don't really know how to have a debate. I don't know if any of you guys were watching when my friend Sergeant Solo 172 and I were talking the other night about, especially, it started out about feminism and current day neo-Nazism and things like that. But it eventually escalated to almost, I wouldn't say, well, I don't think I really was yelling. I have since watched, and I didn't really yell. I raised my voice because I was agitated, as people do. And I'm sorry for that. I'm not normally like that, unless it's an absolute argument about something. I don't really raise my voice like that. But I did notice that when faced with some sort of logic or views that were different than each other's, we both just pretty much resorted to yelling and name calling. Not directly, I didn't say, Solo, you're retarded, and he didn't say, Joey, you're a closed-minded faggot. He didn't say things like that. We it was a general broad terms. It's people like you that do this, or it's this mentality that these people, these retarded people who blah blah blah, these idiotic people with their backwards ass. Because, and especially I believe that it happens when it comes to politics and things like that, serious issues. People, especially when they don't understand something, will shit will fight it with, they'll just start yelling, you know. And that's why, like last night during the argument, I didn't quite know exactly where he was going or where he was getting his info or where his side was, how he came to the conclusions that he was. And so I was trying to let him talk. But it's especially just the fact especially, and it didn't just happen with him. It happens to me all the time. Whenever it comes out the fact that I'm a Catholic, people generally start to lose their shit and or close off their mind. As soon as people find out that I am, especially when it comes to like the topic of gay marriage and abortion and things, people will just close off because they don't want to hear what you have to say because it doesn't coincide with their own ideals. And that's really ignorant. That's, if there are sometimes, I mean, I can understand there are sometimes certain people, types of people, people, people that you've met them and okay, this is not the type of person I want to associate with, and as long as you have it for a valid reason, that's fine. You've met this person or this type of person, and you don't want to associate with them. There's nothing wrong with that. But to know someone's agenda, or like meet a new person and know somebody's thought process or their history, and and understand why, and they say that they have these ideals or these thoughts or beliefs, to just blindly hate on them for generally your own petty reason that might not even have anything to do with them specifically, is wrong. That's why I used to really like Sinead O'Connor, for example. Her acting was pretty good. I liked her singing. What is it? All I Need Is You, I think is that song. I haven't heard it in a while, but I remember hearing it when I was a kid, and I loved it. Beautiful track, wonderful, and but all of her just hate, this violent, vulgar spewing, this vomit of hate speech against Catholicism and the church as a whole, and parts of society, even general people, just the way that the world runs in a democracy or in the country, is absolutely ridiculous. I apologize, I got a little distracted. The new update for the backwards compatibility for the Xbox One allows you to play the Black Ops 1 game, but every time I tried to put the disc in, it didn't work. And I was incessantly tweeting at Xbox and posting on the forums, "What's going on here? You told me it worked." And they finally just got back to me a couple moments ago. Still inconclusive. It's this. And my family is right. We've had this conversation numerous times. Like I said before, and I will reiterate, people today don't know how to converse with each other. And it's really made people lose a lot of respect, and they don't know how to be around people. They don't know. They don't, you know, especially when it comes to having, because I can't, I love to have an intelligent conversation and an intelligent debate. Unabashedly, I am an intelligent human being, and I don't take that back. And I know that there's going to be people who, oh, isn't Nick self-centered? You're only proving my point. People these days cannot have an intelligent conversation anymore because nobody is capable of listening to anybody who does not agree with them. The only thing anybody can do anymore is agree with each other. And just like, I mean, it's for a different reason, but I think it's poignant. Just like with South Park when people would smell their own farts. You know, for them it was talking about how pollution with the Priuses and whatnot, but I think this really works. If they can't all get along without any real conversation or real if you can't get along with people, then people just don't try. They just spread hate speech and they get stubborn and that's wrong. I will never at any point in my entire life say that it's okay for you to be like that. That's just how you are. Because it's not okay. I and other people might accept it. Excuse me, indigestion. Because some people just can't be changed. Or can't be reasoned with. I wouldn't say changed, but reasoned with. But you will never hear me say that that's fine. You're like, oh, you're like this? Well, that's fine, because it's not fine. America as a whole really needs to learn how to respect each other. And and like I said, respect is not given to you. It is not a right. It is something that you earn. I will respect feminists and the feminist movement and feminism as a whole as soon as they respect the fact that I'm a man. As soon as they respect my opinions, my idea. They don't have to agree with it, but as long as they respect it. If you can say, oh, if they can, be like, oh, you don't believe in feminism, or oh, you don't believe in this, you don't agree with me. That's you. Go ahead and do you. Because I used to be that way, especially about when I'm talking about feminism. I used to be that way. I used to say, oh, you're a feminist, that's cool. You do you. I don't necessarily agree with you. That's whatever. But lately I've become quite cynical about it. And why I don't respect feminists anymore. Third wave feminists. You ladies from back in the day in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, wherever, all that time period where you burn bras and you wanted equal rights and things like that for working, especially for working. That was fantastic. We could not have gotten through World War II without you ladies going into these factories and making bombs, helping make metal plates for airplanes and weapons and bullets especially. We could not have done what we did in World War II and Vietnam for that matter without your help, and thank you so much for that. And I thank all of you real feminists out there. But these women today who walk around topless, marching because they don't want to be objectified, that's fucking stupid. That's not feminism, that's just bullshit. You will never see me walking around with no underwear, demanding for equal rights to not be, because I'm a larger man. I'm fat. I'm fat. I say it with pride. I am fat. But you will never see me walking around shirtless and without bottoms on and things like that. Don't fat shame me. Because make fat jokes. That's fine. I get it. I'm fat. I accept it. I'm not necessarily happy about it all the time. But I do know that when it's cold outside and, you skinny little twig women who are all self-conscious about your weight, usually come to me and get for warmth. I'm dead serious, too. Back in high school, I knew some women who would get cold, and they'd literally, every time in between classes, would wrap themselves up in my jacket while I was wearing it. At one point I had 4 girls wrapped under my jacket right there in the freaking hallway because we were all hanging out. They're friends of mine. Dead serious, 100%. True fucking story. Try to respect each other. And even if you meet somebody who is just so against what you believe, what your thought process is, especially when it comes to something that you're passionate about and they disagree, do not start an argument. If you just tell the person, hey, we don't agree on this, so let's not talk about this. Okay? I'm practically begging you people to use some better judgment and just don't be an ignorant piece of shit. I didn't really want to be so blunt about it, but I don't have any other way of putting it. Thank you for listening to part 1 of Inside Bigg Joey. Thank you for watching episode 1 of Inside Bigg Joey, where I talk about random bullshit for 20 minutes roughly. Be sure to like and comment and share the posts both on Twitch and on YouTube. And I might export these YouTube videos to podcast to put them on my SoundCloud. SoundCloud.com/Joey-Soukup. SOUKUP. Or you could just search Bigg Joey. That works too. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.